Dr. Fung, it is an incredible pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for doing all the work that you're doing. You've fasted over 5,000 of your patients, and I know that as someone who's been fasting for 25 years, there's a lot of anxiety and fear around it, but I would say it is the number one tool that has helped me with my own health. And I'm wondering if you could just share with us, what are some of the key myths that people have around fasting?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks for having me on. You hear a lot about fasting, and one of the big things, especially a few years ago, was people would always be advised not to do it. In fact, we gave people the opposite advice. Oh, don't just eat 3 times a day, eat like 10 times a day. And one of the big myths that always came out of that was that you're going to put your body into starvation mode. And what starvation mode refers to is the fact that if your body starts to shut down, it'll burn less calories. So therefore, if you're trying to lose weight and you're burning like 500 calories less per day, that's going to be a very big hurdle to overcome. And this myth, I'm not even sure where it came from, truthfully, but is not supported in science at all. So my advantage was that I could go back into the studies of fasting, and they've been done. They're all from the 80s and 70s. They're there. And if you look at the physiology of fasting, it's quite clear that the metabolic rate does not go down, because as your insulin falls, your body increases other hormones such as the sympathetic tone and noradrenaline that actually keep your metabolic rate high. And that's what all the clinical studies have shown, is that during fasting, what's happening is that your body doesn't shut down. What it does is it really switches fuel sources. So instead of burning food for energy, it burns your stored food, which is your body fat. And because there's plenty of it, your metabolic rate stays high. Your body's like, hey, there's plenty of this fat. Why don't I just burn it? So that's what it does. And so this whole starvation mode myth was one of the big ones that people used to scare them away from fasting. There are quite a few others as well. One of them, again, is that you're going to be so hungry that, you'll have to eat some Krispy Kreme donuts, right? It's like, again, most of us have skipped a meal, and what is, clear from the studies is that the hunger really comes as a wave. So you can study the hormone Ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone, and when you don't eat, it actually goes high only up to a certain point, and after an hour or two, it actually falls right down to baseline. So practically what it means is that at 12 o'clock, if you skip your lunch, and if you're too busy, you're at work, you're skipping your lunch, at 1 o'clock, you're going to be hungry, but by 4 o'clock, your hunger is actually the same whether you ate or you didn't eat. And really, it's because your body has taken those calories that it needed from your stores, which is your body fat. And it's like perfect. You just ate a meal from your own body fat. That's perfect. So your body isn't shutting down. The hunger is not, continually rising. So this is exactly what we need to do, because what we're doing is keeping our metabolic rate high. We're correcting the hunger signaling, and that's the way that you'll be able to keep weight off in the long term. And guess what? People have actually been doing it for thousands of years. So we don't have to say, oh, this is some newfangled concoction or something. It's like, no, people have been doing it for thousands of years. If there was a problem with fasting, we would have found out about it, a couple thousand years ago.
Right, absolutely.
And it's like, it's crazy to think that people are like, oh, you have to eat all the time. And it's like, so people could fast all the way up until what, like 1980? And then since then, the human body has changed so much that we are no longer able to fast? It's like, that doesn't even make any sense.
There's another thing I wanted to ask you about, and that is hormones and how fasting impacts hormones. A lot of women feel that they're worried that maybe it will impact the hormones and that they shouldn't be fasting.
Yeah, and this is a very common myth. So if you look at women in fasting, the main hormone that we're affecting is insulin. When you eat, insulin goes up. When you don't eat, insulin goes down. And some of these other hormones that go up in response is sympathetic tone, noradrenaline, and so on. But they're not specific to women. So it's the main difference between men and women hormonally is testosterone versus estrogen, and that's not really affected by fasting much. So then you can go back and look at the literature again and say, well, does it make a difference? Are overweight women, are they going to have hormonal problems? And again, no. You can look back at human history. You can take things like Lent, which is a period of fasting in the Catholic Church, or Ramadan, and so on. It's like, okay, we've had literally billions of women who fast, okay? Are these billion, Muslim women having horrible health problems, or these couple billion Catholic women during Lent or during Yom Kippur who fast, are they having such horrible problems? It's like, when we ever found out about that a couple thousand years ago, it's like, yeah, there's not that much difference between women and men fasting, but it's yet another reason that people try to say, oh, you shouldn't fast. I mean, there are specific reasons. For example, if you're pregnant, maybe not the best idea to do long fasts. If you're breastfeeding, if you're underweight, that kind of thing. But those are specific situations. And in general, both women and men fast. I mean, it's not like women during Yom Kippur are sort of exempt because it causes health problems. So we know, we have so much experience. And even clinically, personally, we have at least 50%, probably 60% of our patients are women. And we just don't see any problems. So from a practical standpoint, there's actually no reason that women couldn't derive as much benefit. And the advantage is that if you do have a problem, you can stop. Like, it's completely in your control. So if you're having a lot of problems, stop, wait, try and figure out what's going wrong, or do something else. Like, it's always an option, and it's always good to give people options, because you don't have to do it, but you can.